Welcome back to another Bitwave Quick Hit. Today we're talking about the must-have features for crypto accounting software. Pat, what is the number one feature that a digital asset finance platform needs?
Blockchain and wallet and exchange integrations. This is the most important. It is the heart and soul of your of a crypto accounting software, but digital asset finance platform is how you're integrating with the data. The number one thing that Bitwave does is have these enormous data sets of data from Ethereum and Solana and Canton and all of these different blockchains that are out there, as well as really complex integrations with custodians like Coinbase Prime, BitGo, and then exchanges. And exchanges are so hard to integrate with things like Binance and all of these. The problem is what ends up happening is the volume of data on exchanges is so high. The volume of data on blockchains is so high that you really need to index all these things and be able to pull it together in a really simple way. Now, one of the tricks is there's not a lot of the stuff that you would think of as should be really easy to get from like explorers actually can be kind of tricky. Raw blockchain data, as it exists, if you just go to a node and you pull the blockchain data, something like Ethereum, it doesn't actually have tokens as a first class citizen. So tokens are embedded inside these things called log messages, and you have to tease out the actual token information from the log message. It gets even more complicated when you look at something like Solana and you look at how Solana staking works. Solana staking is these three different components of miner extracted value, rewards, and then the lockup piece of it and all of that. It is really, really, really complicated. And they're not just these like simple transactions that are from the raw data. You have to take that data, do a bunch of processing, sometimes do look backs, do look forwards, all that kind of stuff. So the heart and soul of any good platform, the heart and soul of Bitwave is an amazing set of blockchain data that we have SOC verified and spent hours and hours and hours making sure is correct, has gone through thousands of audits and verifications and all that kind of stuff. Plus our great integrations with exchanges and our great integrations with custodians.
The second thing you mentioned data already. So data is the second most important feature of a crypto accounting platform, things like APIs, data warehousing, reconciliation. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, our customers have a lot of data. So the biggest difference between something like NetSuite and something and Bitwave is that NetSuite, how many transactions a day are people doing? 1,000, 10,000, 30,000, whatever. The biggest ERPs out there are doing, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of integrations up to the point where you're like Walmart. They're doing a lot, don't get me wrong. But most businesses are not doing that much. Even the smallest cryptocurrency company is doing thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of transactions a day. And so the ability to actually work with that is really, really tricky. So it's not just that, getting into Bitwave and be able to filter it and sort it, price it and all that kind of stuff is tough. But even like once you want to take it out of Bitwave, if you have 10 million rows in your we call it an inventory view, which is where we're tracking your gain loss. If you have 10,000 rows, or if you have 10 million rows, your inventory views, I got bad news for you. Excel can't open that. So you need to basically be able to go to a data warehouse and search it, manipulate it, get into a state that you can work with, and potentially even get into a data warehouse that you can then hand over to your auditor so that their data folks can look at it. The amount of data we're talking about, I mean, it is not unreasonable. One of the things you'll see in crypto accounting is, the new FASB rules meant that every time you move an asset between two wallets, that's an inventory movement. So if you have a lot in wallet one that's like one Bitcoin, and you move half of a Bitcoin over to your other wallet, it splits that lot. So you just created two lots. So it is not uncommon for our customers that have maybe 10 million transactions in a month to have 50 million lots that they are tracking. This is unheard of in the broader world. Like there are very, very few auditors that are used to getting a table or an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file with 50 million records in it and knowing what to do with it. So having really good access, that's APIs, data warehouse, reconciliation features, into your data to make it usable by your accountants is incredibly important.
All right, third, we have asset and token support.
This is what it all is. Like I mentioned it already that teasing out tokens on Ethereum is not that easy. You have to look at the log messages. That goes for everything from to BSC to all of these. Solana is a little bit easier, but it has its own challenges. Once you get into NFTs, that's kind of tricky. Bitwave, we run a service where we actually track over at this point, I don't know, 20 to 30 million tokens across every single blockchain that we integrate with, that we then can also price those if there is pricing available for them, all of that. So you have to have great token support, and that includes NFT support. That includes new things like the DeFi different protocols you might be interacting with, some of which give you whole yield bearing tokens, some of which have more of a vault model, and you have to be able to work with that. So this idea of you have to have really deep support, not just kind of to sink in simple transactions from the blockchains, but to actually do really deep support for the tokens on the blockchain there.
So fourth, enterprise grade crypto accounting software needs to have support for AR, AP, and payment management. Talk to us a
That's
little bit
it.
about that.
I mean, look at what are we all like? What are we all doing here? Crypto it's fun, it's great, it's exciting. We're all having a good time here. But at the end of the day, like there's real world use cases. And so if you are the Nasdaqs and DTCCs of the world, your real world use case is some form of real world assets, trading, stuff like that. But for a lot of us, the really killer use case for crypto is payments. It is moving money around the world instantaneously with no banks involved. And so this is a core feature of any great accounting software in the world, not just crypto accounting, but every great accounting software, QuickBooks and Xero and all these have payments. Bitwave has payments. So if you want to be able to go in and pay your bills, receive funds, pay it in crypto, pay it in stablecoins, pay it in Ethereum, whatever it is, you need to have a crypto accounting software that supports that and integrates it back with your ERP. So if you're going to track a bill inside of QuickBooks, you need to be able to pay that bill really quickly and then mark it close when it's all done. If you're going to receive funds for it, same thing. You need to be able to have that there. Maybe track some smart contracts around it to make sure you're getting the right amount. Double check that the pricing you're getting is correct for the value you're coming in. There's a lot of different adjustments you have to do on top of that. Booking into fair value, booking into forex adjustments, and then closing that particular bill or invoice in your system, and doing that all with enterprise level controls. So approvals, KYT, verification, penny test, tracking the addresses correctly, securely sharing addresses. This is all the stuff that Bitwave does on our payments platform, and it's a absolutely critical part. Why do you want to? Why are we all in crypto? We're in crypto to start using the use cases. They're going to make our lives easier and faster and cheaper.
All right. The fifth most important feature for a digital asset finance platform is enterprise reporting.
The way we think about this at Bitwave, which is the only way you should think about this, is that we don't want to replace your ERP. We don't, in a perfect world, you would come to Bitwave to do your crypto accounting, and you would spend the rest of your time in your ERP because that's where you're used to. That's where your boss is going. That's where your CEO and your CFO is going. That's where your auditors are going. So Bitwave's whole philosophy is that we want to get the data from the blockchain into your ERP so that you can do as much in your ERP as possible, as much accounting work, as much reporting, as much data warehousing. So we spent an incredible amount of time creating integrations into things like NetSuite and Sage and Oracle Fusion that get high detailed level transactions into those systems, so that you don't have to be going back to Bitwave. If you want to, we'd love to have you. We've got a data warehouse ourselves. You can write whatever report you want in Bitwave. But if you're a big enterprise and you have a BI team that's used to working with Oracle Fusion data, and you have a CFO that's used to looking at dashboards inside of Oracle Fusion, what you want is Bitwave to get the data into your ERP in such a way that you don't have to leave to get them to actually do reporting and dashboarding off of it. So that's a big part of how we think about the world, is that we want to be there, we want to help you. And if you want detailed crypto reporting, you come to Bitwave. But if you're CFO, you don't necessarily want your CFO in Bitwave. You want to get the data into the place where your CFO is going to look at it, and that's a Looker dashboard on top of our data warehouses. It's into the data warehousing capabilities of Oracle Fusion, or into QuickBooks, where your CEO is just glancing on a daily basis to see how much revenue they made from whatever mining was coming in. You want in your ERP with high fidelity, so you can do it right from there.